Landlord's log, rent date 2nd of October 2011. Today I'm going to talk about tenants from hell and how to avoid them. Before I do that though, I'd just like to talk about the fact that most tenants are very good, law-abiding people. They choose to rent our properties because they're not in a position or not quite ready to buy yet. It might be job mobility, they might have just come out of another relationship, but whatever their reasons, most tenants are good. It's only the occasional few that are not going to pay your rent or trash your property, but they must be avoided at all costs. The first thing to think about when marketing your property is the price and the quality of your property. If it's low grade, it's going to attract low grade tenants. That doesn't mean it might not be a cheap property, but it still means that it needs to be clean, it needs to be tidy, and it needs to attract the right people. And the price, when you're marketing it, needs to be just slightly below the market rental value, and I'll explain why in a little while. What you need to do is make sure that you've got lots of applicants. So don't just stick an advert in the post office window or one in the local paper. Use the portals. There's plenty of them. There's several these days where you can advertise on up to 200 of the big property portals, including Rightmove, Zoopla, Prime Location, and they only cost you between £50 to £75, most of them, and they provide a great service to attract a large number of tenants that want to buy or want to rent your property. The next thing is don't exclude pets, or at least don't say in your advert that you exclude pets, because that cuts out a huge proportion of the marketplace. Now, obviously, if the person's got a huge dog that wants to eat your arm off and things like that, you're not going to accept them. But do bear in mind that we are a nation of pet lovers here in the UK, so people with pets will want to rent properties, and if most landlords are excluding them, then they might well want to look at yours. What you need to do is to make sure that you've got lots of tenants coming around, advertise it, as I said, on the right portals, and then make sure that you do block viewings. And it's also important that you start marketing the property very, very early on. So as soon as you exchange contracts on a purchase, or as soon as a tenant serves notice, that's the point at which you need to start advertising your property. You can then arrange, if the property is already occupied by an existing tenant, you can incentivise them to allow you to do viewings whilst they're still in occupation. Or whilst you're exchanging and going to completion, you can be marketing the property, explaining to tenant applicants when it's going to be ready, and arranging for your day of block viewings, which is very, very time efficient. It means that you don't have to be running back and forward to the property all the time. And if you're doing the block viewings, you can actually meet the people, they can meet you, and you can decide which ones you want to work with. When you've decided who you want to work with, then explain to them that you need to take their details and you'll contact them the following day. And when you do that, arrange to meet them at their own home. If you can see where they already live, you're going to get a really good insight into how they're going to treat your property. If they have got pets and there's huge scratch marks up the walls, or they've got a Rottweiler that's trying to eat you alive, then easy decision made. And also explain to them when you see them at their own home that you'd like to see some bank statements and that you will be filling in an application form. And if they decline, then there's probably a very good reason for it. And if you've got enough tenants that are interested in your property, you don't have to worry about the odd few just poking your nose into their business. I think once you can establish a good relationship at the very, very beginning, then it tends to work out longer term. I also point out to tenants that regardless of their position, that I look for a guarantor. And when I do the tenant referencing, I charge a small fee, by the way, with the application form, just to cover the cost of tenant referencing. There are several agencies out there, but I've chosen one that I won't name because I don't want to be advertising on here. It's purely a blog for sharing of information. But I use one that does the referencing of the tenants and the guarantor at the same time, and also provides a rental guarantee insurance, and they do that for less than £40 for me. So that if the tenant does go rogue, obviously I can refer back to the guarantor, and I can also claim on the insurance policy if I have to evict them. There is another form of referencing that I've recently started doing as well. Two new companies who I will name because they operate a free service which is great for landlords. One is called Tenant ID and the other one's called Landlord Referencing Services. And as long as you've got the right conditions in your application form and the tenant's signed to accept them, then you can register their details with those companies, so that if there is a problem later on, you can record it with those companies, and other landlords can pick it up. And also, whilst your tenant is applying for your property, you can check to make sure that they haven't been a bad tenant of somebody else's before they come into your property. The last one for now, one of the most important ones, is that when you do a check-in, make sure that you have a very accurate inventory. I have a written inventory, I also have a video inventory, and I go through that in detail with the tenants, so that when they do move out, if there are any disputes, we can refer back to that inventory. And I try and make it as detailed as possible, so newly decorated isn't good enough. I think you need to put things like fresh magnolia applied to all walls, should be good for 3 years. Or things like beige carpets, felt back bleach cleanable, polypropylene, in beige, and laid for 3 years, recently cleaned, should be good for 7 to 10 years. Things like that will help you solve any problems. Lots more of stuff like this coming up on Landlords Log, so please keep watching, and please also share this video. You can share it on Facebook or Twitter, and by all means grab the embed codes if you've got a blog or you want to post it on a forum. You're very welcome to do so. There's no copyright. I do want it to go viral. I'm sharing these insights because I've been a landlord since 1989, and I just wish that stuff like this was around when I first started, because I'd be tens of thousands of pounds better off by now, and I don't want other people making the same mistakes that I did. So thank you for watching, and my message as always to all landlords: live long and prosper.